We, the jury, find by a vote of 9-3 that Wade Wilson should be sentenced to death.
Have you ever met any person who looks quite normal on the outside, but their true side can kill two innocent women at a time? That's the story of Wade Wilson. In this video, we will explore the true crime chronicles of Wade Wilson and how he became known as one of the most notorious serial killers in history. Wade Wilson, a man from Fort Myers, Florida, who barely touched his 30s, is staring in the face of the death penalty. This grave consequence he faces is linked to the horrific murders of two innocent women from Cape Coral. Word on the street is that Wilson, our central character here, has some dark connections to a notorious Florida prison gang, adding a troubling layer to his story. The court stamped him guilty of first-degree premeditated murder in the heated summer of 2024. Now, you might think that for such a high-profile individual, there would be a Wikipedia page detailing his life and misdeeds. But alas, the internet remains barren of a Wade Wilson Wikipedia page. Born on the cusp of summer on May 20th, 1994, Wilson is a Taurus by zodiac sign for those into astrology. Wade was lovingly raised by his adoptive parents, Candy and Steve Wilson. But here's where it gets even more interesting. His biological throwbacks belong to Stephen Testaseca, his real father, and an unnamed mother who chose to remain anonymous. Unbelievably enough, Wilson's biological dad was a young lad of only 15 years at the time of Wilson's birth. His profession, a window installer. There are no deets about his siblings. Probably that's a secret he's kept well under wraps. Life has a way of creating unexpected twists and turns. One such was on October 7, 2019. Wilson happened to cross paths with Christine Melton, an energetic 35-year-old woman, and her friendly companion, Stephanie Sailors, at Buddha Live, a lively bar in Fort Myers. After the local watering hole had called it a night, Wilson and the duo of ladies decided to head over to Jason Shepard's place. They spent a few good hours in his abode, soaking up the night before they decided to bid goodbye at the break of dawn. Next, Wilson accompanied Melton and Sailors to the former's residence, situated in Cape Coral. Post Sailors' departure, a horrifying turn of events took place. Melton, in her peaceful sleep, became the unfortunate victim of Wilson's violent act. Not just content with the dreadful act, Wilson also took her vehicle. Not much time had passed when Wilson spotted Diane Ruiz, a woman of around 43. She was on her usual morning stroll in the familiarity of Cape Coral streets. Wilson seized the opportunity and approached her for directions to a local school, but he had ulterior motives. He managed to persuade her to get into the car. However, when Ruiz realized the imminent danger and attempted to get out of the moving vehicle, Wilson launched a brutal attack on her. Resorting to physical assault and throttling, he then forced her out of the car and heartlessly drove over her multiple times. This man dared to infiltrate their sanctuary, their home, and phoned his biological father. With both fear and honesty, he admitted his gruesome actions. He narrated what transpired after the poor lady fell into a deep slumber. Alarmingly, he admitted to suffocating her, choking her with his own two hands. Can you believe that he actually owned up to it? And if that wasn't bad enough, he appeared to take pride in his actions. Moreover, there wasn't even a hint of remorse in his voice. Instead, this man yanked her out of the car when he noticed her chest rise and fall, a sign she was still alive. He then shared how he climbed back into the vehicle and drove over her again and again until she was unrecognizable, reduced to what he sickeningly referred to as spaghetti. Let's shed some light on an intriguing story making waves online. Wade Wilson is becoming an internet sensation, all while sitting in a prison cell. Believe it or not, women from all corners of the globe find a compelling reason to reach out to this man, causing a digital chatter that's hard to ignore. This unforeseen interest in Wilson's life isn't random. It started on June 12th, the very day he was convicted for the unfortunate demise of Christine Melton and Diane Ruiz. Since then, he's received an astonishing 3,903 messages, as reported by the Lee County Sheriff's Office. This unexpected fanfare is not at all what one would anticipate in Wilson's situation, making it all the more intriguing. Wilson has responded to some of these communications, accepting 279 requests to connect. Imagine that. He's even received 754 photos sent his way. However, not all of these pictures were acceptable. The sheriff's office had to step in and reject 163 of those images due to their inappropriate content. If that wasn't enough, he's also receiving traditional mail. Yes, 65 letters have found their way to Wilson's cell in an era of digital communication. Wilson's judgment was all set for July 23rd. However, things hit a snag as his legal team is fighting tooth and nail, lobbying for a re-examination of the trial or his acquittal from the grievous crime, the murder of Christine Melton. Not just that, but he's also facing 2 other damning charges. Now, some argue that he could be rehabilitated. They're saying he doesn't deserve the death penalty. But we're talking about a man who brutally ended the lives of 2 women within a mere span of hours. His ex was lucky enough to escape his wrath, but she too could have been another victim of this violent predator. Think about it for a minute. Wilson found guilty of the heinous killings of Christine and Diane, 2 women he had no prior connection to. They were simply 2 ladies he crossed paths with during a dark night. It started when he abandoned his girlfriend at a bar, helped himself to her car keys, took off with her car, and met a woman whom he eventually killed. A couple of hours passed, and another innocent life was snuffed out by him for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Yet people ask, can't he be transformed? Why should he escape the death penalty? Is it because he comes off as appealing? So if he were some creepy-looking 50-year-old guy, would that make the death penalty more palatable? Things are certainly not as simple as black and white, are they? He's the current sensation sweeping across TikTok. Everywhere you swipe, his face pops up. He's the talk of the town. There's a sheer number of recreations featuring this guy that's pretty difficult to keep count of. It's like trying to count the stars in the sky. There are just so many. Bite-sized snippets from his trial have been cleverly stitched together, creating a patchwork of moments that, using some trending songs, keep the viewers coming back for more. The earlier date of July 23rd, set for Wilson's sentencing, has been given a rain check. But guess what? A judge announced a new date because apparently the doctors have to evaluate his mental condition. Now all eyes are set on a new date. Pull out your calendars and circle August 27th. That's the day when the scales of justice will sway again. Life or death? That's the question Wilson's life hangs in the balance. When this story first broke in 2019, Wilson already had several conspicuous tattoos on his neck. Interestingly, though, his face was seemingly unmarked during his arrest in early court proceedings. Not a single ink mark could be discerned in his mugshots or initial court appearances. Fast forward to the future, the year 2024, Wilson's story took an unexpected twist during his murder trial. His face was virtually transformed, now adorned with the ink of various tattoos. Among them were quite a few notable ones, including a rather intimidating swastika and an artistic representation of stitches encircling his mouth. Before stepping into the courtroom, they used all the tools. Wilson's lawyers cleverly filed motions, which were subsequently accepted in court, allowing Wilson 2 major concessions. Firstly, he was permitted to trade his usual prisoner's uniform for more relatable and less threatening street clothes. Secondly, and perhaps more importantly, he was granted the liberty to conceal his potentially jury-offending tattoos under the disguise of carefully applied makeup. Currently, he's being held in the well-guarded Lee County Jail in the heart of Fort Myers. Apart from determining his sentencing, Mr. Wilson also has a few unrelated charges to wrap up, a little something involving an escape attempt, just to spice things up. Once that's all tucked away nicely, he'll pack his bags for a transfer to the expansive Florida prison system. Waiting for Judge Nicholas Thompson's decision is like waiting for the other shoe to drop. Should Judge Thompson give the nod to Wilson's death sentence, our dear Mr. Wilson will find himself heading towards a new home, Florida's death row, the notorious Union Correctional Institution. There's a saying among the locals there, all roads lead to Union. And for Mr. Wilson, this could very well be his next stop. So what do you guys think about this case? Do you think Wilson deserves a second chance at rehabilitation? Or do you believe justice should be served with the death penalty? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime content. Stay safe out there.